Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, good evening and welcome to Through the Keyhole, the show that's dedicated to the thesis that there's no place like home, particularly somebody else's. What we're going to do tonight, as always, is to take the keys to two fascinating homes belonging to well-known people, and then, with the help of the one and only Lloyd Grossman, we'll be taking a privileged peep behind closed doors. The question is, whose? Well, to try and answer that question tonight, we have an incredibly distinguished group. First of all, that marvellous man, here he is, one of radio's most popular faces, that capital fellow, Chris Tarrant. Next, we're delighted to welcome the Mae West of Wapping. Here she is with her views of the world, Nina Myskow. And finally, the House of Lords spokesman on photography. Let's sit back and watch what develops with Patrick Lichfield. Well, let me tell you a little more about the game now. With the help of our magic keys, we'll be taking a careful look inside two fascinating homes, and that should tell us something about the person who lives there. All that our friends have got to do is to try and work out who that is. So let's join Lloyd Grossman right now at house number 1. And watch closely, because remember, the clues are there as we go through the keyhole.
This house has all the virtues of posh suburban architecture. It's substantial, yet it's quite cozy. It's built out of all the sort of materials that English people like to surround themselves with: brick, tile, and leaded glass. And it's even got an old oak door. This is quite an opulent room. Even the grandfather clock has bits of gold on it. It's very stiff and very formal, the perfect place for a young stockbroker to be welcoming his dinner party guests. And there's an astonishingly elaborate telephone here. I wonder if someone in this household suffers from the Sue Ellen complex, the need to monitor everything that's going on whilst chatting on the telephone all day. Let's go and have a look at the sitting room now. This is quite a formally luxurious room as well. It's got lots of very impressive objects, like this huge crystal bowl, for example. And look at the leather-covered telephone, another luxurious speaking instrument. Obviously, someone here made a fortune on telecom shares. It's also an upholsterer's dream. There's a tremendous amount of soft furnishings. And here's a great example of the recline and fall of the Roman Empire. You can picture people lounging around in this room, eating after-eights and drinking malt whiskey. I think these people, though, love the countryside. All the pictures in this room are outdoorsy pictures, so I think that they're real country folk. And get a load of this. Proof that the television set was invented by the Georgians. Even though this looks like an ideal setting for old fogies, I think these people are actually quite young and trying to be very, very grown up indeed. They certainly have all the kit. Look at these huge sideboards, for an example, laden with a profusion of entertaining gear, crystal decanters, silver-plated whatnots. There does seem to be a definite interest in globes. This is definitely something straight out of the ancient mariner's locker, and there's a rather more modernistic one here. So possibly someone in the household is very interested in navigation. A very distinctive object, though, is this thing. I think they must have Danny LaRue for a milkman. No, this is not a dating bar in Abu Dhabi. It's just the surprisingly flash ceiling in this otherwise workmanlike kitchen. Now, this kitchen is big, and lots of lunches and dinners are turned out here for the benefits of the fat cats in the dining room next door. It's got all the gadgets you expect, like a food processor and a microwave. And unsurprisingly for this house, there's yet another jocular telephone. This bedroom has all the electric mod cons as well. There's a remote control colour telly and a big stereo. But the feeling of this room is very historical. It's straight out of a Georgette Hare novel. I think it was decorated by the woman of the house, so perhaps the man of the house travels a lot, or maybe he's just not interested in domestic things. There's a tremendous eye for detail here, though. Even the wardrobes are Wedgwood. Let's look at the evidence. The leather-covered telephone, the ceramic globe, the Wedgwood wardrobes. So what sort of person lives in a house like this? David, it's over to you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Lloyd. And now for our home and studio audience, though not for our panel, here's whose house it is. Chris, would you care to say what sort of a person lives in that?
No, very difficult, actually. It's one of those houses that's... I mean, in one way, it's very traditional. It's got beautiful pictures of the countryside and oaks and old oak houses and all that. At the same time, it's also got lots of modern gear, lots and lots of stereo, telly sets everywhere, phones. It's a sort of ageing trendy, really, isn't it? I don't know, I assume we're trying to find the man of the house, although I suspect, as Lloyd was saying, that it's a woman who's organised a lot of it. So he's
happily married couple. But
happily married.
Well,
so show business is out, right?
Right, well, you're right, actually, show business is out. But happily married couple, but you are looking for the man particularly. Nina.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very puzzling. It's more puzzling than Lloyd Grossman's vowel movements, in fact. I find it terribly difficult to gauge anything from it because it does give the feeling of sort of heavy and solid and old. There is a sort of clue in that crystal bowl. It said, I could only read something, it said supporters club. Something to do with... Would that be rugby or tennis or football?
Well spotted.
What sort of support are we talking about? I mean, if it's footballers, I'm absolutely lost, because I don't...
Well, you've done very well. You've passed the ball, then, a through ball to Patrick Lichfield.
I originally thought showbiz, so although they may be to do with sport, I think it's a showbiz element here somewhere. I mean, there's an extravagant personality, somebody that hits the press quite often. Could it be perhaps a manager of a football club? Like,
well, no, I wouldn't applaud that one so much. It's not a manager, no.
No.
There's one clue in there that should tell you what footballer. There's a ceramic globe there, which is a clue.
World Cup.
Oh,
Jeff Hurst.
no, not Jeff Hurst. No, he can't be one of the ones who scores all the goals, because they're all in Sampdoria, Juventus or somewhere, aren't they?
No.
Which World Cup?
Some don't go to Italy.
Don't they? Good Lord.
Who doesn't go to Italy? Come on, lads, come on.
He's a footballer who doesn't go to Italy. He's got quite a nice house. He's married. Well, it's not the one who scores all the goals. No, it's not him, right?
We don't play football.
No, neither Patrick nor Nina play soccer, so it's up... I could guess it.
He's
I
an
like
England
soccer,
international
but
footballer.
I know already. What? Yeah.
Somebody who's currently playing. Somebody who's still playing. Well, that's no help. Somebody who was in the England recently...
Go for the top.
Oh, I don't know. What's he called? Lineker.
No, he's
further up
even
still.
I know that.
Further up still.
It is the England captain himself,
Good
Brian
Lord.
Robson. Well, they were nearly there, weren't they? They were nearly there, but I mean, Nina doesn't play enough soccer, you see, that's the
Another
problem.
10 guesses I'd have been there.
Yes. Now, the malt whiskey looked delicious, but is that part of the training schedule? Or?
Since we had the new manager, no.
And what about the Jules Rimet, the model of the World Cup? Where did that come from?
That was when we were in Spain in '82. All the players, I think nearly everyone, bought a piece of that because it was in Ladro, and obviously that's a major production over in Spain. And so all the players went out shopping, buy the wives a present, and that was my wife's present.
Was just what she'd always wanted, right?
I think so.
Do you train at home? I mean, do you do a lot of exercises in that home we've been looking at? I mean, do you, or only at the ground?
No, we just do training at the ground. It's not very often, unless the daughters get me out in the garden.
Yeah, that's the only time. You don't do lots of push-ups and RAF or Canadian exercises or anything at home. When you get home, you just relax.
It's just to relax.
And what about a lot of the cooking that goes on in the kitchen? Do you do any of that, or is that all your wife, in fact?
I do all the cooking. No, I don't really.
Do you have fantastic parties in that kitchen? I mean, because it looks like the sort of place that, you know, you
He's
could
only
really...
got a bowl of bananas. What sort of party's that?
No, I mean the ceiling and everything. Look.
We've had a few good parties in the house, but...
Not that you drink when you're training, of course. Or...
No, only Saturday nights.
Well, it's a great joy to have you with us indeed, and I'd like to present you with this. This is the Through the Keyhole gold key as a souvenir of how much we appreciate your being here today, Brian. And all the best in the future. Thank you for being with us. We've got to take a break. Our thanks to Brian Robson. We'll be right back in a second. Thank you. Welcome back to Through the Keyhole. In our postbag this week, Mr. Watson of Colchester writes, "My wife says that I ought to pay her for doing the housework. Should I agree?" Well, Mr. Watson, Lloyd says yes, as long as she promises only to come in on Thursdays. And Mrs. Turner of Rill writes, "I often disagree with what Lloyd sees on his visits to the houses. Have his eyes ever been checked?" Well, Mrs. Turner, Lloyd says no. They've always been brown. Thank you, Lloyd. Now, let's join Lloyd Grossman at house number 2 and watch closely, because remember, the clues are there as we go through the keyhole.
Well, this is a very good example of compact central planning. We've got the bedroom coming off the sitting room on one side and the kitchen coming off on the other side. The bedroom is ideal for a very lazy person. It's absolutely tiny and you can get to everything in it without moving out of bed. I'm quite interested in the collection of crockery on top of the wardrobe. It shows that someone here is a very thrifty person. This is a refreshingly old-fashioned kitchen. It certainly dates from the days before Nouvelle cuisine. But looking around it, it's hard to tell whether it belongs to the cats or to the people who live here. One thing's pretty certain, though, that someone who lives here has a fairly bad memory. There are lots and lots of bottles and jars of the same sort of spices. So obviously someone who's not terribly well organized, not very good at keeping shopping lists. Well, it's quite easy to see that whoever lives here is a great animal lover, because there's a tremendous profusion of what I can only call catabilia around here. Cat pictures, cat sculptures, places for the cats to sleep. Also someone with a tremendous sense of humor. Who else would dare have a painting of a car crash? There's quite an exotic feel to this dressing room with its rattan furniture and jungly print fabric. Maybe this person likes to travel in the Far East. It's certainly someone who likes dressing up a lot. Look at all these hats, quite extraordinary. Very bright colors, so someone who is very, very flamboyant indeed. And once again, the cats are accounted for in this room. There are lots of rather cozy-looking cat baskets around here. This is a surprisingly Spartan dining room, because looking at this incredible profusion of glasses, one can tell that these people like to eat and drink a lot. They're real party goers. One very odd feature in this room is the rather Festival of Britain corner. There's a nasty 1950s-style leatherette armchair and some completely incomprehensible stained glass paneling. And get a load of this. Is this a piece of modern art, or did someone slip with the curry? Well, even with the jumbo jets thundering overhead, this is a picture book cottage placed in an absolutely idyllic garden. And with this magnificent riverside setting, the ideal spot for even the most discriminating teddy bear's picnic. Let's consider the evidence. The portrait of the jaunty cat, the theatrical hats, and 50s corner. So who lives in a house like this? Well, David, it's over to you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Lloyd. And now for our home and studio audience, here's whose house it is. Well, what sort of a person would you say? Patrick, will you begin the analysis?
Yes, it's interesting that there's that, what Lloyd calls the 50s corner. I mean, that does tend to date the person, possibly. I see it as somebody, I obviously got it terribly wrong, as a titter. But I see it as somebody...
It was impossible to tell whether that was a positive titter or a negative titter, I think.
Well, I see it as an actress probably single, who must be probably, must have been known in the 50s, let's say.
Nina.
I agree with that, because it's a very female place, isn't it? It's very feline as well as female. And I loved when the camera was panning over all the hats. There was what could have been a cat. It was a fur hat, but it could easily have been a cat, and I was a bit worried about that. I didn't know which it was. I think it's an actress, and I think it's possibly someone that we, that we love, because it looks like a really cosy, nice, warm place.
Chris.
I was interested in Pat saying that it seems like she's a single woman, because I can't imagine any bloke staying there. I mean, there's cats on the bed and there's drink everywhere and it's all upside down. And when you looked at it from outside,
You'd run away from cats. You'd run away from cats.
Oh, I'd run a mile. All cat food tins everywhere and upside down bottles and a big thing saying immoral earnings, and that was all very... When we looked at it outside, it's sort of place Noddy and Biggie is living. I mean, I would think it's a comedienne.
And very homely and so on, as Nina said. Patrick, can you zero in on it at all?
Beryl Reid.
Yes, I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Come through the keyhole, Beryl Reid.
Oh, how lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you
You're so
again.
unmarried, aren't I?
Fun?
I've done it so many times, you'd be amazed. But they love the cats on the bed. It all adds to it.
Oh, there you are, you see.
You know.
They love it, you see.
Yeah.
They love it.
Actually, the thing is, Beryl, that Chris prefers old dogs.
Oh, does he?
Oh, I'm not fussy, actually.
I'd recommend it too. Yes. Oh, what a shame.
As such a cosy, wonderful atmosphere. And the rooms are all round, aren't they?
Yes, it's like, in Africa they have rondavels, much bigger than my rooms, because my house is fairly small, although I've built onto it. It's very difficult to build onto round places. But with a bit of perseverance and the wind going in the right direction, you can manage it. And it's extraordinary, because you can't hear anything from one room to another. And it was built from 17th century bricks from Colnbrook. And a man who was absolutely potty about circles built it. And when his first child was born there, he'd married a German lady, and he boiled some willows and made a round cradle. I think it was a bit round the twist. But I love it. I absolutely love living there. And I have had 2 husbands who've lived there very happily, and several gentlemen callers. Nobody has seemed to object to anything. And as for the old-fashioned kitchen with nouvelle cuisine, they're all absolutely delighted with whatever I present, because I can cook.
The theatrical hats, are they theatrical or they just look theatrical?
Those are my hats. I love hats, and I think women should wear hats. And I think they're so becoming. And if you've got a small face, you can look lovely in hats. And, you know, maybe your hair gets a bit tatty if you're wearing a wig for the week, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so...
What did you say yes, David?
I then said no.
No, he said no immediately.
I said yes, being sympathetic to our guests. And then I thought, no, that sounds wrong, I'll say no.
No, but I mean, if your hair gets a bit, you know, if you're in working in the theatre and it gets a bit raggedy, it's wonderful to put a hat on. Those are not theatrical hats. Those are beautifully designed hats for my face.
For your face?
And they kind of fit in.
And what about, I read somewhere that you rehearse your roles at home, and people coming by on the river are sometimes a bit astonished.
That's rather funny, because I rehearse it in the dining room, which is actually on the river. And when the Old Windsor lock opens, you see, they come swinging through, and I'm saying, I don't believe you, I'm doing all the acting, and I have to turn it into dusting. It looks a little bit eccentric to the people on the boats, you know, and I turn it into a wave or a dust.
Do they announce who it is as they go?
They actually do sometimes. But I always take a call if there's any to be taken. Not that way, but just I haven't got ideas above my station.
Well, Beryl, what we'd like to do to present you with this key as a symbol of our gratitude for our visit to your...
What a good job I'm in gold.
Exactly.
It was class.
Doesn't it tone beautifully, everybody? Don't you think it tones beautifully?
Could be an earring.
Yeah, yes. A very, very heavy earring. Not very...
A very heavy earring.
But it's in gold. It's to say thank you to Beryl Reid for being with us tonight. And our thanks to Patrick Lichfield, and to Nina Myskow, and to Chris Tarrant. Our thanks to Brian Robson, and of course to Lloyd Grossman. Until the next time, good night.
Stay out of the black and in the red. There's nothing in this game for two in a bed. Let's play Bullseye next. Then we dim the lights and turn on the tense music. Chris Tarrant is here with a classic millionaire that's new to challenge. That's every weeknight at 10.